pushing 350.
And do you ever do this? Have you done the same text twice, or do you always try and do different ones? Like, how's that work for you?
I try and do different ones because people remember.
Yeah.
The only time I've not done this is now.
Yeah.
I've done Alice. I wrote Alice. Well, I didn't write it. I'm not Reverend Dobbs. I readapted Alice. So I've done that before. So I've just redone it now for ease. But I tend not to do the same thing twice because I wouldn't paint the same painting twice, nor would I do the same song twice. So I wouldn't do the same production twice. And kids like to have an experience, a new experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
About when I put productions on, I'm well aware that a lot of our students, and like all schools, they will go to theatre train and Stagecoach and Pauline Quirk.
Yes, yeah.
What they won't have is a broad experience of what other theatre is out there, what other styles of theatre, what other sort of types of productions are out there. So we tend to do those sort of productions. So, with the sixth formers, we're doing Marisade. It's not really a play a school would normally do. So we're doing it. We would normally Alice in Wonderland. The way we're doing it is very surreal. It's very very movement based. You wouldn't do that at a Pauline Quirk. You do High School Musical and No Disrespect to them and Grease and those sort of things. So we tend not to do those things. I did Match Girls, which is an Owen play. Again, you don't tend to see that in schools. So I tend to do those things rather than the big grand stuff.
You want to be different. I can tell that, Johnny. I'm
challenge them.
Well,
make them do something they're not used to.
Absolutely. And so before we sort of finish up, the way it's coming to that time, I'm sure you've got probably 105 things to do today, from costume to lighting, everything. I've got to ask because I've been asking again everybody this, and those who've tuned into previous show will know what questions coming up. But we've got to acknowledge what's happening with some of the headlines we've seen around of, the government cuts the arts. And obviously that campaign that happened about telling people to retrain with the ballerina. Yeah. What are your views of that? Remember, we, try and keep the profanity low. What do you think? And what do you think the future of the arts looks like, both in and out of schools? Honest views about that with everything that we're seeing at the moment.
Right. So two things. Number one, there are more professional actors working in London than there are firemen.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And that number by itself tells you how many jobs there are in this industry. You think of, actors don't just work in theatre. They work in radio, they work in television, they work in advertising, they work in corporate, they work in museums, they work in experiences. This is what they do. They work in small theatres. They have their own theatre company, TIE. The list is endless. It's huge. And then within that, in the Drury Lane Theatre, just one theatre employs around 400 people to do. I mean, Shrek employed 420 people to put that production on. That's one production. One.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's considerably more than the local Tesco's across the road.
Yeah.
And it's those sort of numbers which make it. You gasp when you hear it. It's like, I think we try to. It's thousands of people working just in theatre across the country. There are 1,200 full-time working theatres in the UK. So just if you average that, just 15 or 20 people working in each one full-time, that's a huge number, and that's just theatre. It is ridiculous to suggest retrain is nothing for you. It's just nonsense. The arts and creative industry is the third largest economy in the country. It outweighs sport by 80% outweighs sport. Most of the money for the arts stays in Britain. It stays here. It goes to our tax coffers. We employ our actors. We employ our creatives. People from all over the world use our facilities. Some of the biggest films, made, the James Bonds, the Camerons, they film and they create here.
Yes, true. Yeah.
You just look at the end credits of the Marvel films. The list goes on and on and on. It's just extraordinary number of people. I was watching Lord of the Rings. I get quite passionate about it. 4,000 people worked on Lord of the Rings. I mean, look at it on Wikipedia. These people are not who didn't train to be accountants.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
They didn't go to art school and thought, no, there's no job for me. I'm going to work in a coffee shop. No,
yeah.
They made Lord of the Rings, 4,000 of them. You know, I mean, the Lord of the Rings film, it registered on the New Zealand national gross product for the 5 years it was running. It was an industry. It was like it was up there with steel. It's ridiculous. It is nonsense, utter nonsense to suggest that there is no place or employment in the arts. Of course there is. Absolutely there is. During lockdown, people did not sit there in their house staring at walls. And if they did, somebody built that wall and designed it for you.
Yeah.
They watched TV, they listened to music, they read books, they missed art. They went out, they experienced the creative world around them. People who work in that industry made that for them. People who work in the arts made the lockdown palatable and possible. Netflix would not exist without actors. It's deplorable to think it's the case. Absolutely deplorable. To program a computer takes one person, and that one person can program 1 million computers. Why would you, as an artist, retrain for a job where only one person is going to be employed? It makes no sense. It was a nonsensical statement, which was built from a group of people who just thought it was live. And because theatres had closed down, that was it.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And as for the future, we had the Black Death. We had the bubonic plague. We had the First World War, the Second World War. We had the Commonwealth. We had the Reformation. We had the collapse of the Roman Empire. Theatre didn't stop. It didn't stop. It paused. In fact, some of the greatest artwork ever created during the Renaissance was slap bang in the middle of the bubonic plague. We turn to art. We turn to the arts when we're at our greatest crisis. And to turn our backs on it now, when we are, as a society, facing a difficulty, makes no sense. Makes no sense. You should be encouraging it. It should be spoken about. It should be pushed, not marginalized in this way. Children need to learn how to re-talk, how to re-express, how to do those things we spoke about earlier. People are going to be going for job interviews and not being able to talk with the computer, the mask on, they won't have a clue. If you pull away from them the one passion they have, they're just machines. They're nothing. And you will gain and you will grow in no way. Society grows because of the arts. It's there because of the arts. It's what makes it palatable. You can't take it away.
Amazing. Wow. That was absolutely incredible. Wow. That 100%, completely agree with everything you said there. What an amazing way to come towards the end of this interview. But that was incredible and so true. All of those words coming through. And I think really putting it in those points, particularly talking there about, Black Plague and World War and what happened in the Roman Empire, but actually the arts have always continued and grown stronger and stronger. And always been that escape, we look through history and arts have always been there and were, meant for everybody to really access and escape the world. And I know already that lots of pop stars and singers and all this are coming through and they're saying actually the stuff they've created during lockdown and the songs coming out, and the new theatre shows coming out and all of these things are starting to emerge because actually people had that time in that isolation and they were being creative. And I mean, we saw it on TV. During the lockdown, new shows being created literally during a lockdown, and people thinking, how can they do that creatively and everything like that? New documentaries and all sorts.
Because you do, if you're backed into a corner, you come out fighting. You come out with the best stuff that you have. If you're forced to sit down and re-examine what's happening, you are going to come out with the best art that you can. Because that's the thing which we are so lucky as artists. We can express ourselves in that way. We don't sit. You can just sit there being, worried and concerned about everything. We express that worry and concern in a way which everybody can understand and we can share. And that's why the arts. That's why it's there. That's what we do it for. So if he's listening, Mr. Johnson,
that's it.
Sure he is. Every morning sitting there with his porridge,
Absolutely. I mean, Tommy, who wouldn't be listening to James Clark Wednesday Morning Breakfast Show? I mean, 100%. Boris is definitely on there. And mate, thank you so much, Tommy. It's been absolutely amazing. And where can our listeners reach out to you? And I do encourage you, because you post some fantastic little snippets and clips of the 100,000 million plus one things that are going on in your school and your life at the moment. So where can they reach out to you?
Follow me on Twitter. I wish I knew what my hashtag was. It's TRO Performing Arts. If you put TRO Performing Arts in Twitter, you can follow me on there. Like I said, I regularly update it, watch what our students are doing. If it inspires you, even better. If it makes you jealous, I'm even more proud.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. You've spoken incredibly, and some real sound bites there, and amazing sort of thoughts for us all on this Wednesday morning. So thank you, Tommy. And what's next for you? Of course, what's the rest of your day looking like now?
Well, I've got to eat my porridge. It's going cold. So, rest of the day, I've got sixth form this morning, continuing to rehearse Marisard. Then I've got year 8s. We're doing Device Theatre. Then rest of the day, kind of free-ish to get my tags and SAGs finished off.
The joys of being a teacher. The fun never ends with tag.
Never does. Excellent.
All the best. Thank you, Tommy. Enjoy yourself.
You as well. See you, James. Bye-bye. Bye.
Wow, that was Tommy, everybody. How incredible. Just some absolutely amazing points there. Wow. What a way to start Wednesday morning. Thank you, Tommy. How are you spending your Wednesday morning? Bit of a stretch. Have you got your porridge? That's the question. Or are you going for, like me, with your cherries? Do recommend those. Still lots to come though, and we are talking all about the COVID effect and what it's been like in your school when it comes to creative arts. And you've got loads of comments on Twitter, which we're going to read live very, very soon. We're going to go through these comments that you've put. But once again, Tommy Robinson from the Chiswick School, Head of Drama and Community Arts. What an amazing, amazing speaker. And if you have just joined us, firstly, where have you been? What have you been doing? How dare you leave me on my Wednesday morning on my own? How dare you need to travel to school or do schoolwork or anything like that? I'm only joking, of course, because you don't need to worry. You can catch up with all of the excitement that happens on the Wednesday Morning Breakfast Show and every show on Teachers Talk Radio via the Podbeam app or on other devices, platforms, whatever the correct word is called, such as Spotify as well. Mal having a lion today. Absolutely jealous of that one. I hope you're enjoying your lion. And a great comment that's come up from the Deputy Lesson Copy, who said on Twitter, love starting my Wednesdays with @JamClar96 on TT Radio 2021. Nothing but positivity. Well, thank you very much for that. And thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate having everybody here, everybody listening. And I made it, guys. Very excitingly, I made it into the top. I think I was number 3. I might have been lying, but I'm going to say number 3 and hope that it's not a lie. I think I was the 3rd or maybe 4th or 5th. But at least the top 5, I'm going to say 3, top 5 most viewed listened to episodes last week, which was super exciting because that's the first time it's ever happened. So thank you, everybody who has been tuning in. And if you've just tuned in, well, make sure you join us every Wednesday morning here on The Breakfast Show and every show that's happening here on Teachers Talk Radio. But that was very exciting. Even more exciting, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about my life before I go back to the actual purpose of today's show, is I've done 10 shows. I found out that I've done 10 shows, so I get a Teachers Talk Radio t-shirt and a mug. I'm so excited. I'm genuinely, literally, I need to order it today, so I haven't yet ordered it. So that is very exciting, happening today. And don't panic. Yes, I will post a picture of me with my mug and my t-shirt, because I'm sure you are all very worried about that. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about the COVID effect and how COVID's impacted on creative subjects in your school. Tommy giving some excellent examples there and thoughts there about that. We've got a few more we're going to share before we come through and finish today's show. But of course, if you've got anything you want to share, you can do so via the Podbean Live app, or of course on Twitter as well, which lots of you have been doing. Before then, I'm just going to play you a short advertisement and then we'll be right back on air. Stand by.
Introducing Amanda Davey. Amanda is one of the first specialist teacher assessors for dyscalculia in the UK and offers dyscalculia tutoring and bespoke training for schools. With 26 years of teaching and tutoring experience in the UK, Amanda offers specialist online tuition focused on building confidence and developing skills. Amanda also offers online and face-to-face training on dyscalculia for educators, informing practitioners as to how to identify children that may have dyscalculia and how to support them in class. Find out more about Amanda and what she can offer you at www.amanda-davey-dyscalculia.co.uk. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. At Creative Resources, we've been rethinking what a classroom can be. We've created a huge range of more than 2,500 original and exciting resources that span across more than 15 different subject areas. Whether you're looking for primary or secondary level resources, careers options, PSHE, arts or humanities, Creative Resources have the resources for you. We offer full curriculum packages and unique, challenging escape rooms themed on topics such as Shakespeare, Tudors, and fractions. We have quizzes, task cards, Tarsier puzzles, and lots more. Better still, more than 100 resources can be accessed for free. Just visit our website, www.cre8tiveresources.com. You can get 10% off any order you make on our website by using the discount code TT Radio. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Megan Goods.
This is your latest Teachers Talk Radio News. A new study published in the Science of Learning journal has found that children who enjoy school are more likely to be successful than those who do not. The study found school enjoyment strongly associated with later achievement in age 16 compulsory GCSE exams, even after adjustment for socio-economic background and cognitive ability. Pupils who reported enjoying school scored on average almost a 3-grade increase across all subjects and were 29% more likely to obtain 5 or more A* to C GCSEs, including maths and English. The report also found that at age 6, girls were more than twice as likely to state that they enjoyed school than boys. The latest figures show that students are now more likely to choose to continue with their education. Of last year's cohort of school leavers, 66.5% were in higher or further education 9 months after leaving school, the highest number since records began in 2009. The number of those in employment went down, however, from 28% to 21.3%, the lowest figure since records began. Students that were unemployed rose from 5.8% to 6.8%, and higher education was the most common destination for school leavers at 42.9%, followed by further education at 23.6%. That was your latest Teachers Talk Radio News.
How did you find school? Did you enjoy it when you were at school? What are your memories like? I think that's a broad topic to cover, isn't it? Remember a few things. Welcome if you've just tuned in. This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are live on the Wednesday morning breakfast show with me, James Clark. And it's always an absolute pleasure to be here with you. We've been talking all about the COVID effect and the impact on creative subjects. There's been positives and there's been negatives. We'll go through some more. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to be that very British person, but I'm going to say it. Look at our sun. Isn't it lovely? We love the weather. Genuinely makes all the difference. Although it is hot. Just to counterbalance that, it is warm, and it's, you know, getting to the point where you go through my outfits, I look for the wardrobe and I'm like, I just can't find any summer outfits. I'm not prepared for it. So I need to go and find the shirts, some finished shirts and trousers. I find that the most difficult thing, because you put on your suit trousers or smart trousers and it's just so hot. But that is not what we're discussing today. What we're discussing today is not my fashion choices. We are discussing all about the COVID effect. And for the last few minutes that we've got of our show, I just want to share another point that you put live on the Twitter from Miss McColdin, at Miss N McColdin. A real positivity has been the availability of live theatre online. I've been able to show my students a wide range of productions for free, which has been amazing. But there's definitely a knock-on effect on students' confidence, both in performance and sharing ideas. And we've talked about this. You know, there is an absolute clear difference. By no means am I saying that live theatre is being replaced by online theatre, but it was absolutely amazing. And it was just so amazing being able to tune into Twitter and watching the National Theatre Live productions. And there were hundreds of people, you know, hundreds of people gathering around, watching shows online, engaging with the theatre. And I go back and I steal a point that Tommy said earlier on in today's show. And, you know, that's how people coped with lockdown. We coped with reading, with watching shows, with listening to music, with writing, being creative. You know, that is how we all cope during lockdown, and that's what we try to encourage in ourselves and the students. And I just think that shows the importance of creativity. To go back to a show that I talked about 2 weeks ago when I was talking about creativity. Another very interesting point that the same person on Twitter has put up is saying that I've also had to reteach blocking and proxemics. Proxemics refers to sort of spacing on stage, so you know where spacing is. So I've also had to reteach blocking, so where you stand, and proxemics. Spatial awareness has gone out the window, which I didn't expect. And I think that's really true. I think suddenly, you know, in drama, as an example, and I'm sure in other creative subjects and PE as well, that actually sometimes, you know, you were constantly saying, you know, be aware of your space, move out the way, don't stand so close, make sure you've got, you know, space between you and the next person. Well, we've been practicing that for the last year in society now, having space, and suddenly we've all got much better at it. That now it's kind of blocking each other. But again, you know, relationships, how's it going to work out? Thank you to everybody who's been commenting on this throughout last night and also today. It's been really, really great to see how different people have coped with lockdown and coming back into schools and the creatives post-COVID of schools. But I think it's going to become stronger. I think we're going to end up with actually more emphasis put on the arts and the need for the arts than ever before, because we're realizing just how important it is. My students absolutely love it. And I love going to teach my year 7s and my year 8s particularly, who are just so excited to be back, so excited to be in the drama space, be in a drama room and just having fun. I just think that's so important, is just that positivity that safe space and that environment to talk and be with others. It's what we've missed. It's what I've missed. I remember the first time, I was going to go to a song then. I remember that one. I remember going back into the office for the first time and seeing people. And, you know, I'd got no work done that day because if you can't tell, I do like to chat, particularly if I don't want to do any work. I'm that annoying person in the office that just sits and chats and goes on and on. I'm sure we're all thinking, oh, I know someone like that. But it's so true. And it's exactly the same with students. It's that engagement. It's that talking. And one aspect we're talking about next week, and we spoke a little bit about there with Tommy, is all about putting on a show. The ups, the downs, the results. That's our next show as part of this Creatives in the Curriculum month-long event happening on the Wednesday morning breakfast show. And so if you've got any thoughts on that, if you've ever put on a show, whether it's a music show, a dance show, maybe even an expedition, whatever it might be, let's talk about the highs and lows of putting that on and the results of it. I'll be sharing my experiences, and I will also be joined by a guest or two. And you can find out more about that show and who's going to be joining me at the start of next week live on my Twitter at JAMClar96. But of course, the place you need to make sure you are following and you need to make sure is pinned to your page and everywhere you can make post-it notes is, of course, the Teacher Talk Radio Twitter at TT Radio 2021. And it's got so many people in there now, which is great because I started this about 10 shows or so ago. And I think there was maybe like 1,000 people. It's now at nearly 5,000 of you following us on Twitter, which is amazing. And we're live on Twitter. So, you know, you can watch us and watch. I keep saying watch. You can listen to us live on Twitter and on Facebook and pretty much anywhere you like. So the rest of today, we're going to be joined. Later on today, you've got another show with the wonderful Noreen at 8 to 9:30 this evening for the late show. So make sure you tune in for that. Noreen is going to be joined by Dr. Jill Berry, Jonathan Smith, and Kerry Standen, which is some amazing people there. And they're talking about men in primary school, head teacher recruitment, and I'm sure lots of other amazing things. So make sure you tune in for that as well. And we've also reached over, I think, I can't remember I'm trying to find the post now. Something ridiculous like the 1,000th show or the 500th show or whatever it was. 10,000 plus listeners on there. The thing, that's what it is. It's just mad. It's absolute madness. But COVID impact, what's it been like? Are you noticing now in your sort of subjects that actually COVID's kind of moving on a little bit now? I'm finding that where we are at school and our creative subject particularly is that actually the fear and the worry of what we were going to do post lockdown is actually now subsided. I remember when we first came back, I had tape on the floor, I had boxes on the floor, I had, you know, red lines, teacher zones, don't stand in this bit. Oh gosh, it was great in some ways, but in other ways it was like actually, you know, we did everything, we put everything in because we were so worried about making sure we got it right and making sure the environment is as safe as possible. And although the environment is still 100% safe, and that is of course the most important thing, I think now everybody's kind of aware of what's happening. They feel more comfortable, which is probably the most important work there. And we're going back to almost some form of normality with, of course, you know, the restrictions still in place of social distancing where we can and the masks and so forth. But actually, things are starting to feel a little bit different, which is nicer. And we're starting to plan for the future. We are thinking about our school show. You know, we are thinking about what performances we want to do. We're thinking about how we can get kids to go to the theatre. We're starting to book theatre trips. It's all of these things, which is so important, which is really exciting. Has anybody else started to plan trips? Have you started to think about residentials? I'm going on a residential very, very soon. In a couple of weeks' time, I'm doing 2 trips with some year 7s and some 8s onto a barge trip, a boat along the canal. And those are the experiences that I've missed massively. And particularly in the creative subject, those are the experiences that my young people have. And I know some people will and won't say it's work, but they have missed out on that. They 100% have missed out. And I will hand on heart say that I I'm clapping my hands in case you're wondering what that was. That's me clapping as I start ranting. I 100% do believe that I think my year 11s and my year 10s, you know, they did miss out, and they did get maybe this is a bit dramatic, but it's me. They did get a worse deal. You know, my year 13s got a worse deal. You know, we weren't able to do the experiences to theatre, take them to drama schools and universities, you know, all of those opportunities that we would normally do with our kids to really engage them and raise their aspirations and show them what the future is. You know, we weren't able to take them. And they did miss out. And I feel awful for that. I have to remember, it's not, you know, I didn't cause this. This is not a full disclosure on the Teachers Talk Radio saying that Mr. Clark caused COVID-19 in the UK. That is not the case. But it is really important that we do recognise and think about, actually, you know, we've got to make sure that our students do get the best experiences moving forward, whether that's going into higher education, those listeners who work at university, to, you know, even thinking now, the ones that are coming through on transition, those year 6 to 7 transition is not going to be the same. The latest government advice came out about that, and they are going to be very different. You know, it might not be as in face or in person or in the space of your new school as you might have hoped. So all of these things are going to come into play. You know, there's a real knock-on effect with COVID. So I think, you know, I'm encouraging everybody to really think about actually getting your kids out. Start looking at that pantomime. You know, are you the school that take your kids to the pantomime? Try and get those pantomime trips in. And please, you know, not even just for your students, but also the general arts and the staff and the crew. I mean, Tommy there talked about 4,000 people. 4,000 people worked on Lord of the Rings. That is absolutely insane to think. And you're absolutely right. 400 people working on the show when it was Shrek in Drury Lane, and all these thousands and hundreds of people that work in the arts, and they're raring to go. And they have been going, and we've been doing some amazing things during lockdown. One of those things as well, which we're going to talk a little bit more about next week, is we're doing a sharing of all the amazing work that's been happening across some different schools and different platforms with the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama and their intergenerational work that they've been doing across NHS and secondary school with secondary school students, and also in care homes as well, talking about the drama and the care that they've been doing, and a chance to learn that practice as well. So if you are a practitioner and you want to develop your technological skills or think about how you can do intergenerational work, then all of that will be coming out very soon, and we'll be talking about that next week as well. But do follow us on Twitter, and where I'll be sharing more information about that, and of course all the other amazing shows that are happening on Teachers Talk Radio. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure to spend my Wednesday mornings with you. However you are now spending the rest of your day, I hope it is wonderful and that you manage to enjoy the sunshine, even if it is just by opening your windows in a classroom and sticking your head out during break time for 5 minutes. Although if your classroom does back onto a playground, please be careful. Other than that, do remember that there are lots else coming up on this today, including the Late Show at 8 to 9:30 with Noreen. Don't miss it here on Teachers Talk Radio via the Podbean app. And if you do miss any shows, then do not panic. Do not fear. You can catch up via, of course, going on to ttradio.org/listen back. And if you missed that, you can, of course, also catch up via the Spotify or other platforms such as Apple. There's no excuse. Until then, I will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your week. I've been James Clark here on Teachers Talk Radio with your Wednesday morning breakfast show. All the best. Until next time.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.